attention, please. I'd like to call to order the Friday, October 17th meeting of the Metropolitan Planning Organization Board. If you all please stand for the pledge. But before we do that, if you give me a minute of personal privilege, I'd like to take a moment to pause and reflect on someone who used to join us at these meetings who's no longer here. If you'll take a minute to think of Mike Greenwell, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll have a call of the roll, please.
Commissioner Pendergrass.
Here.
Commissioner Hammond. Here. Councilmember Burson. Councilmember Geraldo. Councilmember Baum. Councilmember Lehman. Here. Councilmember Kilrain. Here. Councilmember Duke. Here.
Councilmember Nelson Lastra.
Here.
Councilmember Stanky. Councilmember Donnell.
Here.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Henshaw.
Here.
Mayor Gibson.
Here.
Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Mayor Ribble.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Don. We'll start with the consent agenda. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we'll carry that. We'll move on to public hearing items. We'll take public comment on each public hearing and new business item. First one is the approved amendments to the fiscal year 2025-2026 to fiscal year 2029 to 2030 Transportation Improvement Program. Don?
So this is our usual time of year when we add the roll forward reports in there. You'll notice some stuff in there is done. If it has a little money left in there, it's left in there to be able to scoop out later on. There are projects that haven't started or projects that are still underway as part of that process. In addition, there was a Ding Darling project that was in there that's got federal funding, so we have to include that within the list as well. And then finally, as I'll talk about the next item, moving $947,745 in carry forward funding and planning funds, also $39,448 in CPG funding, which was our former transit planning funding, and that is also added in there as an amendment at the end of this.
Any discussion?
Just a question. Ding Darling project, the federal funding, what was the basis of that federal funding?
It's something to do with damage that happened from the hurricane, and they're doing design. I don't know the detail of it. I can try to get some details if you want as part of that process.
Anyone else? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? Thank you. This requires a roll call vote.
Yes. Commissioner Malika.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond.
Yes.
Councilmember Lehman.
Yes.
Councilmember Kilrain.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaduke.
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson Lastra.
Yes.
Councilmember Donnell.
Yes.
Councilmember King.
Yes.
Councilmember Henshaw.
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes.
Councilmember Carr.
Yes.
Mayor Ribble.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, we'll have next item, approve amendments to the Unified Planning Work Program to add carry forward funding. Don?
So this is what I just talked about, moving funding for, it was rollover, essentially, previous years. So I've identified the first part of this, the first bullet on here is $39,448. This is transit planning funds. This will be going to Letran for their staff. This is based on, essentially gets updated every year based on how much they come, it gets its formula funding back to our area. The second part of this is $947,745 in planning funds carry forward. Identified several projects. Two of them were ones that were in our priorities previously, but since they're planning funds, we can use the planning, essentially funding to do those projects, then use that money for construction of sidewalks or whatever. So the projects are Causeway Periwinkle Intersection Improvement Study, Seaboard and Second Street Planning Study. Also have an updated GIS map based on existing and planned transportation facilities, a build-out scenario traffic modeling analysis, increase some of the money from the safety outreach based on our safety action plan, which I probably need to put more, but anyway. And an interchange planning study for the planned interchange in northern Lee County. I put an amount in there. I'm not sure what the scope will be. We'll be bringing it back probably more than once to review that scope, but essentially looking at the traffic more definitively after we adopt the long-range plan, and then also some of the issues that are there, and get some real cost estimates behind it as well. I open up for any comments or questions anybody has.
Go ahead, Laura.
Again, well, it was really terrific, thorough, and wonderful, and the best was the list of acronyms that the UPWP uses. So an extra copy always helps. And my motion to approve the third order.
We'll wait for public comment first, though, please. Any other comments from the board? Go ahead.
Just want to commend you, the staff at the MPO and everyone that is involved in this, making sure that we have additional money, obviously to fill the gaps on sidewalks and do more outreach and education in the community, because we certainly need that in Lee County.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board? We'll open it up to public comment. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll entertain Laura's motion for approval. Second? Although this does require a roll call vote as well, I guess. Thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Malika.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond. Yes. Councilmember Geraldo.
Yes.
Councilmember Lehman.
Yes.
Councilmember Kilrain.
Yes.
Councilmember Kaduke.
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson Lastra.
Yes.
Councilmember Donnell. Yes. Councilmember King.
Yes.
Councilmember Henshaw.
Yes.
Mayor Gibson. Yes. Councilmember Carr.
Yes.
Mayor Ribble.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That approved. We'll move on to new business. Endorsement of the aviation priorities. Ron?
So these are the projects and priorities of the Lee County Port Authority for both RSW and Batesville. So you probably cannot see in that. You can see some, but basically all the projects that you see out here has not changed from what you saw last year. And as you can see, they only assign priorities for their top three, including the terminal expansion phase 1, phase 2, and then rehab of runway 624. That's the only runway, as you know, in RSW. The other thing that I want to point out is those projects that I called out are already underway. The runway rehab 624, actually, I think the design is going to start in 2026. And one of the other projects, the top one, which the air traffic control tower, is already completed. But the reason that these projects are in this list of priorities is because they're still drawing money out of the federal and state matches. So that's all I have, and I'd like a motion for endorsement of these priorities.
Okay, any comment from the board on this?
I have a general question. How's this project being managed overall? Who and how is it managed?
I would probably leave it to the commissioners who knows better than I do or the staff do.
Well, the port,
Program manager, direct project management, how?
Chief Hennigan and his team manage the airport, and we serve as the Port Authority Board as well, so we have oversight over all these projects.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, please.
Just what is the differentiation between line 4 rehab, runway 624, and then down here at the very bottom? Seems like the same entry, but numbers are different.
So basically, the same projects are being repeated for years 2026, 27, because like I said before, they have to get the federal and state matches, and the matches are going to be from 26, 27, 28, like that.
And just the RSW is just wonderful, and the progress that's being made is fabulous. People come in and they comment about how beautiful our airport is and how easy it is to move through, and how many people go through a day? I mean, sometimes 1 million.
Right.
So good job.
Good job to the Lee County Port Authority and the commissioners.
Yes.
Anything else from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public comment. No public comment, we'll go ahead and ask for a motion to endorse.
I'd like to
Sorry.
I'd like to make the motion for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Thank you. Moving on, we have a presentation of the US 41/6 Mile Cypress Project Improvement Alternatives from FDOT.
Yes, David Turley with FDOT will introduce this, and then his consultant will.
Good morning. My name is David Turley. I work with FDOT. I am the project manager for the 6 Mile Cypress at US 41. And here today to present for you is Imran Ghani, who is our consultant project manager.
Good morning. As mentioned, my name is Imran Ghani. I'm the consultant project manager. We're really here for two reasons. We're about to go to an alternatives public meeting for our project. That's on October 28th is the in-person, and October 30th is the virtual. So we wanted to invite all of you to that meeting, but also then take this opportunity to talk to you about our project. So the project development and environment study is looking at the US 41 and 6 Mile Cypress Parkway intersection. The area shown in red is our study area. The reason we're doing this project is to relieve existing congestion, but also not just to relieve existing congestion, but also to accommodate future traffic demand, and lastly, to enhance safety, not just for motorists, but also bicyclists and pedestrians. There were 4 fatalities within our study area, 3 bicyclists and 1 pedestrian in the last 5 years. The intersection currently is operating at level of service F. So level of service goes from A all the way to F, A being free flow conditions, and F representing congested conditions. As part of the study, we actually did traffic counts, and we actually projected traffic all the way to 2054. As you can notice, the area around the intersection is pretty built out. You have a Lowe's, Walmart, and a Home Depot. But this intersection is serving a lot of through traffic, and that traffic is projected to grow. So our traffic volumes are projected to increase from 2024 all the way to 2054. The numbers in white with the blue background is our 2024 number. The text in black with the white background is our 2054 projection. So we began the project by looking at some simple low-cost solutions. Traffic operations has already gone there and ensured that there are 2 left turn lanes, an exclusive 1 right turn lane in each direction. So the next step was, should we go ahead and provide for triple lefts? And I mentioned that the delay right now is operating at level of service F. By 2054, that delay goes from 100 seconds to 349 seconds. So it's almost tripling. When we looked at providing some short-term solutions, they did help, but the intersection was still failing. So as a result, we then shifted from something low cost to a much bigger alternative, look at innovative intersections that can perhaps improve the flow of traffic. So the first alternative that we looked at, and I'm going to show you those concepts, Pay attention to Old Gladiolus Road. That road right now, cul-de-sacs, does not connect to 40. The first alternative was, let's actually have the Old Gladiolus Road connect to US 41. A lot of the traffic goes north, makes a left, and comes down south. This allows that traffic to bypass the intersection of 6 Mile Cypress and US 41. That one intersection is handling all the movements. So one of the other ideas was that we take the left turn movement that is being made at the intersection and make them do a U-turn movement. And then similarly for east-west is instead of making a left at that intersection, have them make a U-turn movement at the next intersection. Everything, the signal heads that you see in black are existing signals. The signal heads that you see in yellow are proposed signals. So anytime there's a U-turn movement, we would signalize the intersection so you're not looking for gaps in the traffic, but that flow of traffic is actually being controlled by a signal. So that's one alternative. The second alternative was to provide an overpass. That is a bridge shown in blue. So the traffic that is going through never stops at the intersection. It goes over 6 Mile Cypress. In addition to that, we do have these left turn movements that were used to be made at the intersection. We have them do a U-turn. We are providing one through movement because if the traffic goes over, we wanted to make sure that people who want to access the businesses adjacent to the intersection can still do so. The third alternative is a displaced left alternative in which the traffic that wants to make a left turn bypasses the existing intersection, and very similar to the other intersections, the left turns on 6 Mile Cypress have to do a U-turn. Now, the big benefit of that is, I just want you to pay attention to the delay in 2054. No build, if you do nothing, it's 349. It drops all the way down to 33 seconds to 35 seconds. So these concepts do improve the flow of traffic dramatically compared to the no build. However, there are impacts associated with them. We listed the number of parcels that would be impacted. None of these alternatives would require a relocation. We would not force any homes or business to relocate, but we would need some land from different parcels. And the project cost varies from $45 million to $89 million. Again, just wanted to emphasize, if you want to discuss these alternatives in detail, I'm going through this very fast. If you want to talk to FDOT staff, you want to look at our animations, our presentations, we have an in-person meeting on October 28th from 5 to 7 at the Lakes Regional Library. And if you cannot attend in person, you can always attend virtually from your phone, tablet, or on your computer. On October 30th, you can scan the QR code to register. Our overall schedule, we are about to go to our alternatives meeting, and we plan to go to our public hearing in early 2026 and wrap this project in the next 8 to 9 months.
Could I ask a question? If you could go back to the last time you did a U-turn drop, right there, where Walmart is, there's a roadish in purple line. Can you bring that to 41?
Sorry. This one?
No, over at the end, the purple.
You're talking about this road?
Yes, all the way, yeah.
You can look at that, certainly. I'm not 100% sure who owns that, but I do see your point that I see it's almost like the road was platted for our subdivision and never got built.
And then all those folks that are at Walmart could take that way out.
Yeah, their major entrance is that. This is almost like a truck entrance.
Mm-hmm.
I think this can cover a lot of the trucks. They deliver their supplies here.
But locals will find that exit.
And we made sure that we were not taking anybody's access away while we're developing these alternatives. We're, again, trying to improve the flow of traffic. but also not to cut off any access for businesses that already have some. We can certainly look at that.
Any other board questions or comments?
If I may, I'm really glad to see this project coming on board. This is part of my daily commute. And I've been concerned about that area for Summerlin and Gladiolus, wherever that whole area in there. There's a lot of people that do last-minute lane changes to decide on which lane is going to be fastest traveling through that intersection, and they do a lot. There's a lot of last-minute laggers that are in the right lane that meant to turn left and crisscrossing that's dangerous, on a daily basis in front of the Lowe's area there. So I'm glad to see these alternatives being looked at. I like the idea of the old Gladiolus extension to get the southbound traffic out of the middle of that congestion and the zigzag people trying to process through there. That makes total sense. That was shut down when they built the Lowe's, but that used to be the way through there. So this is a very important project. How far out is building this? Did I miss that on the slide?
No, this is the next slide that we're finishing the PD&E. Right now, design and the next phases are not funded in the 5-year work program. I think there's some ongoing discussion, but right now the only thing that's funded is the project development and the environment study. And just David Turley's contact information, sir.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask one other favor in that area while you're doing your studies, please, and I think I mentioned this early on. The landscaping that we have in those medians, where in front of Lakes Park area and basically from Summerlin all the way through to Lowe's, I think there's some line of sight issues that I witness on a regular basis in there. So your people finally get it to where they have a break in traffic, they hurry to try to get ahead, and then you're blind, you can't see what's ahead of you around the corner, and everybody's stopped and people slam on their brakes a lot because they don't know there's the congestion in front of them. So I've got some concerns with the line of sight median things, that some of that should be eliminated or looked at for low light and morning, evening sun is a lot of last minute brake slamming in that area. So
We will certainly also bring this to our traffic operations, so if something can be done earlier than this project, then we'll look at that.
I would appreciate it. I experience this on a daily basis. So, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I use that road, that intersection on a regular basis myself too, flow of traffic and being able to maintain that. I think extending the old Gladiolus provides a lot more connections and unjams that traffic that happens there in that corner. You spoke about the incidents and accidents and deaths on the intersection for bicycle and pedestrians, and although didn't seem like a high number, there is a large number of people that are using that intersection because you have the linear parks. People go, there's the 6 Mile Cypress multi-use path that goes all the way to Estero 82, and it goes all the way to Lakes Park. So I know there's a lot of people that use that, and certainly that needs to be in consideration. That intersection created areas of refuge in the median for people to be able to, if they cannot cross all the way. But that needs to be something that needs to be looked at.
Thank you. And I didn't get a chance to mention, but one of the things we're doing is when you approach the intersection, you have bicyclists that are going through and you have right turn movements. Those are conflicts. Before the intersection, we actually switch them back onto the shared use path. So they're actually crossing at that high visibility crosswalk rather than trying to navigate on the road. This is something that they do mostly for roundabouts. The roundabout, they move those bicyclists onto the shared use path. We actually did the same thing on these concepts, trying to address some of the bicycle safety issues. But thank you for your comment.
And on that note, unless you're a roadie, meaning you're the one that is riding 35 miles an hour with a helmet and all the etiquette, most people are using the shared use path that are using the multi-use trail and going to Lakes Park. So.
Any other comments?
Chairman, if I may, could I ask a few questions? Could we go back to the first alternative and let's just go through them again? They were up on the screen so quickly, I didn't get a chance to really take them all in. So that's the first alternative. So you were, what were the U-turns that you were planning on adding with this alternative? Or were there any U-turns?
Yes, so just to explain is that one intersection is handling all the through movements in all directions, and it's also handling all the left turns. And it's just trying to do too much. It's just every movement goes through this intersection. So part of what you do is you try to spread the load a little bit. You say, okay, you know, the US 41 and 6 Mile Cypress will make it into a two-phase signal. You will only allow northbound through and northbound and southbound through and east-west and westbound. Since we removed all the lefts, we also removed the southbound lefts with a U-turn, and then the eastbound and the westbound lefts. Again, this was not our, we didn't start with this on day one, but without these improvements, we could not do anything to improve the mobility at that intersection.
How, do you have counts or projections on how many U-turns people are going to be making at those 3 different U-turn points?
Yes, we do, and we counted the intersection actually for 2 days just to make sure nothing abnormal happened one day. And we've actually done traffic analysis to show how the other signals actually operate once those U-turns get relocated. The left turns get relocated to U-turns. So we have all this data at our public meeting. We're also going to put all this on our website so that that information is available.
Well, that's great. You don't happen to have it off today available for us, huh?
I know, but if I can get your email, we can send that information to you.
Okay. I was going to say, will the MPO get another crack at looking at these designs before preferred alternative is selected?
Yeah, we usually get 2 before the public hearing as well.
I think, my feedback would be that I think we do need another crack at this before anything is finally selected, because I think we need to think about how many thousands really of U-turns we're talking about here potentially. So basically, if I'm reading the diagram right, if you're heading south on 41, you're no longer going to be able to turn left onto 6 Mile Cypress or Gladiolus there, and you're going to have to go straight through the intersection and then make a U-turn. That could be like tens of thousands. Am I right? Of cars doing a U-turn?
It's not tens of thousands. It is the biggest movements are, you can sort of tell with the number of left turn lanes. The highest volumes were northbound left.
Okay.
And the second highest was the corresponding movement in the afternoon when that same traffic comes in. And so part of the reason is we looked at this is we removed the biggest volumes from the intersection. Those are smaller. I can get you those numbers.
Okay.
Just so that you have a ballpark number of how many of those movements are being asked to do that. And we were thinking, since this is a new concept, there are a couple of these intersections already built around the state that we were thinking of going out there, videotaping them, and so people can actually see how these operate, because it's sometimes hard for you to understand unless you can look at something similar.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was going to ask. My next question, do you have any examples of where you have an intersection like this where you could potentially have that many U-turns taking place?
So 31 has this, but not the amount you're talking about for U-turns.
Okay.
And obviously, one of the things we were calling out is you get a little more space to the one over here by Lowe's, but there's not a whole lot of space on that other one by...
And then the next alternative was the overpass, and you had no U-turns on that one?
Yeah, so this one, because of the single point urban, and so here, instead of removing the left turn, so the highest volume is the through movement. We took the through movement on top of 6 Mile Cypress, so they never have to stop at all. We do have there are some people who are trying to access local businesses, so we do have one lane that stays at the ground, so you can go to adjacent businesses, but all the movement, the traffic that's going through goes over. So for northbound and southbound, the left turns stay. Here, the only change is the left turns for eastbound and the left turns for westbound, they get relocated.
Okay. And then the third alternative was that one with the extra U-turn.
This is similar to what the State Road 82 and
the CFI.
Yeah.
State Road 82 and Daniels.
So here, the left turn switch over, and so the left and through can go at the same time. And very similarly, the east-west are the two movements that we end up relocating to a U-turn.
Okay.
And then the latter two alternatives, Old Gladiators Drive is not developed.
Correct. We actually made a similar presentation to the TAC and the CAC, and one of the comments that we received is, you should do that regardless of what alternative that you select.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this scenario, it looks like they would be U-turning at traffic lights at least. So that would create the break and the spacing that they would need to have the time to make a U-turn?
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much.
Anytime we're asking them to do a U-turn, we signalize that intersection becomes a two-phase. And so because we didn't want people to look for gaps in the traffic, the point you were making here, it will all be controlled by signals. The movements will be controlled by signals.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just as a follow-up, please, the old Gladiolus Drive extension, to open that back up again, how much of the budget on these projects is that piece of this? Do we have that quantified?
Yeah, we do. It's not the biggest piece. The more expensive option is the overpass because of that bridge. I don't know the number exactly, but we can break it down, how much of that overall cost is connecting that. It's not just connecting, but we also improved it from a 2-lane to a 4-lane with a center turn lane. So, people who are businesses who have access can continue to have access. But we can also get that number for you.
No, I really like the pressure relief of that diversion of traffic.
And especially when you project out to 54, how many cars? It'll just be another release point.
I appreciate your U-turn concern because I don't like adding U-turns. Just instinctively doesn't sound like what I would want to do every day. But that old Gladiolus Drive, I wonder if that was open and on the next two scenarios, what would the seconds count be? If it's $5 million and does it save 20% on the next two scenarios to not just delete that? What does that look like?
I'll just add one more thing is going back to that concern, we are doing a micro simulation analysis that actually, the benefit of that is it shows how the queues back up, because sometimes the queue from one intersection backs up and it starts affecting a signal at a different intersection. So we're doing a micro simulation analysis just so we can get a detailed view of which movement is backing up, and can we solve that with signal timing, or if we need to add some additional turn lanes or lengthen the existing turn lanes. Sorry, there was a question.
Let me add to that. One of the problems with this is the spooey, this is the overpass. If we put into play old Gladiolus, you're messing with, because the end of this is the touchdown point for the overpass. So you don't have enough room, and the whole point is you're taking the certain aspects of it and taking it out. Now go to the DLT. Now the whole point of the DLT, the displaced left turn, is that we're taking the left turns that would do it and we're moving it over to go over. So if you put old Gladiolus in play, that's pointless. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to the public alternatives meeting.
Not if you want to go the other way.
Well, no, if you want to go the other way, that works, but
And actually, in your drawings, you can't make a right turn out of the old Gladiators Drive. You only are allowed to go right.
when you turn, your right turn would be, it still comes here, the right turn. So it does you still have that movement. I just wanted to show why old Gladiolus can't really be in play for all three alternatives. That's all.
I can appreciate that feedback. I think the pressure relief of old Gladiolus being open is something that's
Well, the other thing is, it is a county roadway. The state, can't just, we have an area of influence of the intersection that we're supposed to work with. Just doing this is not something that, I mean, we're doing it to alleviate pressure off of US 41 with the Old Gladiolus bypass as an alternative. So it's just, we can't just always jump in and do county roads because that's what you guys are.
So, yeah, I wish Rob was here. I didn't see him today, but, so potentially, if the commissioners were interested in that road improvement, that's something that we could lobby for, strategize with our team.
Commissioner, absolutely, and I think you bring up a great question. What opportunities do you guys have to interact with the technical staff at Lee County Department of Transportation? Have you gotten a chance to give them this presentation and get their feedback?
Yes, we've actually met with them multiple times. First, before we even develop these alternatives, say, we're thinking about things like this, and they were very open to it. We sort of also asked them, preferences. Sometimes cities do not like overpasses. Is that an option? They said, hey, we've done multiple of these. We're totally open to this. And then we actually showed these alternatives to them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have multiple meetings. I mean, we're trying to get feedback. So, we have our technical analysis done. We also need to get public input. There are probably some issues that somebody will point out that we haven't thought about. So we're going to go back and refine these, and we will have multiple meetings with them.
Yeah, you did mention one of the things I'll be interested to hear from the public, if they think that maybe the cues from even the turn signals where they'll make the U-turn still could potentially back up to affect an intersection. I'm not sure, but I do see it, in the mornings on my drive, even through other intersections. So, but thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your flexibility on questions.
John, you've been trying to get in there.
Yeah, just real quick, on the U-turn issue, do you take into account the severity of risk in respect to crashes or T-boning? There's a reason why we minimize U-turns in intersections is because of the risk of crashes. Do you take that into consideration?
Well, it is considered, and that's also why we're putting the lights in. Usually, a lot of U-turn movements are just try and cut in, like as Imran had noted earlier, we were just trying to find a break to get in there. That's why we're putting in the signals so that there is a stop control that allows that U-turn movement. And that'll be synced up with the other lights so that it's not something that will break down and, cause a major queue. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this model, which is a more complete picture of the whole intersection and all of the adjacent intersections as well.
And just to add to what David, we also actually are looking at that not only can we accommodate U-turns for cars, but trucks. We're designing it so that even a large truck can make that movement and not actually have to mount the curb or anything like that. So part of our design was not just designed for cars, but also to make sure, because we're next to Lowe's, we're next to Walmart, we are making sure that even large trucks can make those movements safely.
All right, and you've taken into consideration the fact that that's a slow process. You're slowing down traffic as a result of the U-turn.
You are correct, yes.
Joe, go ahead.
Just one question, just from a timing standpoint. When was this put on the table? When did we start this project? I just wanted to get perspective.
When did we start? Yeah, like approximately 9 months ago.
So not too long.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
No, it's not.
And what was your did you have any projection? I know you had a slide up before that talked about timing on it. To your next evaluation time and when you'd be bringing it forward again. What was that timeline?
Oh, well, the preferred alternative will come after the public workshop. We tend to meet with our management to make sure that, we're all picking the right one. Because feedback is very important to us from the public. So, I think we have a meeting with the transportation.
You mean traffic management operation?
Traffic management, yes. After, I think that's November 12th.
Yeah.
So somewhere around that time, we should start be having our preferred alternative.
Okay, and the dollars on this were somewhere between like a 30 to 48, I think I saw up there, 48 million? All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, can you go to the slide that had the money and the delays on it, please? And all three alternatives did have the U-turns added, right? Yeah. I thought I saw, okay, so we're getting U-turns no matter what. But just with the number of impacted parcels, the dollar amount, is a little bit higher than the crossover for the total cost, but the delays were all pretty much in sync there. So I think the old Gladiolus bypass is probably the best one to go with myself, but it'll be nice to see what the public says at the other meetings.
Any other comments, Commissioner?
Just to clarify for Commissioner Hammond's point, this will come back to us again after the public input in the November meeting. So approximately how far out until this review comes back to us again?
Well, we're looking at doing the public hearing in January.
Yeah, January, February, yeah.
January, February, so your meeting before that is when we would come back to you.
Okay, so we're not too far away. All right, thank you.
Anything else from the board? Any public comment on this item?
Derek Felder for the record. At the CAC meeting, we talked about this. I was at that meeting, and this was, I think, kind of the preferred alternative with opening Old Gladiolus Drive up like that. Can you do the little turn signal thingies? It was mentioned about this proposed U-turn signal, that it also does add a opportunity to make this left into Lowe's currently. Currently, that's not signalized. So I know there's a lot of people that wait here to make that left into here. Adding that signal there would definitely be helpful. My concern that I noticed over there, where this lane is right here, is this designating a left turn lane for this U-turn? Because if I'm sitting over here at this left turn lane, I'm going to think I'm making a left turn right here. But it's not.
So yes, the signage will be very, very important. We did look at trying to put some sort of a traffic separator in the center so you physically cannot. But because of all the through movement, we just could not figure out something that would physically prohibit. So if you've ever driven through some of the diverging diamond interchanges, it's physically impossible, well, almost physically impossible, to make certain movements that will take you in the wrong side of the roadway. So we did look at something like that. We'll probably continue to evaluate that. But just because of all the through movements, anything ended up creating a safety hazard for the through movements.
Any other public comment? Okay, very good discussion, thank you. We'll move on to update on the development of the 2050 long-range transportation plan. Don?
Now we'll talk about the money regarding this project. So let me just talk a little bit at the beginning about our public workshop that we held. So we had a decent group of people that showed up, from different agencies and things. These were some of the comments from it. Support of passenger ferries, interested in bus rapid transit, specifically on US 41, where it probably makes more sense because you could use things like the turn lane. Support for micro-transit options, and we've heard that in some of the other communities as well. Support for any improvements to mitigate traffic in downtown Fort Myers. Support for Sun Trail and related projects. Concerns for timing of projects taking longer than originally scheduled and expected. Now, this is a lot of where, because of the money, some of these projects we're only funding through either design or right-of-way because we don't have enough money, and it showed in the presentation stuff that was there after 2050. Hopefully, if we're designing it, it's not after 2050, but obviously we've talked about the revenues being short, particularly from the state side of it. So some of the comments that were made: widening of 78 in Bayshore east of I-75 to 31, widening of US 41 north of State Road 80, the State Road 31 bridge over the Caloosahatchee, which is actually programmed in 29. I-75 interchange improvements, pick an interchange that people drive through, they made a comment about it, except for Colonial. Burnt Store Road, as we've had a lot of discussions here as well. Other comments, concerns over the noise wall for I-75 widening project from south of Corkscrew. They were seeking more information on analysis that was done, and obviously we weren't prepared to talk about that specifically, not noise experts there. Interest in seeking alternative transportation funding sources to fully fund and speed up widening projects, and then questions about how the bridge projects are determined, usually from the bridge inspections. So let me go through some of the changes from, we did get our tentative work program too, so I had some discussions before that I thought Metro was going to go away, and yes it has, so I show that now. So what's in your package is not the packet is not the latest. So that was the needs plan. This is what's in the cost feasible plan. It looks better than it really is because there are a lot of projects with the numbers there where only partial funding. But that's so people can go back and look at the number on the left and say what is going on there. So on the first table within your packet, it had Metro and Daniels with the intersection. Of course, that started as the widening project that turned into, let's look at a CFI at Daniels and Metro, and then it said, well, can't afford that because it was $50 million in right-of-way, so let's look at triple Fs, and that was like $37 million. So that project is essentially out of this process, so we pulled that out. What he did add in further down here, State Road 78 from I-75 to 31, that it was in PD&E. It had an initial workshop, not a public hearing. That now has design, so that at least can go through, get approval of the PD&E at this point. Then also, I had in there I-75 interchange with that project, but now that has $500,000 in a different year. It's actually in 26. I'm not exactly sure what we're doing for $500,000 because the design for the rest of the project is $7 million, but we'll find out more on that, but I did separate that out. So that's what's shown in the second table here, added that in, and then I added, because we had some additional money, I had taken Sunshine Extension and put that on the federal side of it, and I took that extra money and put it towards Burnt Store right-of-way. I added up the bottom. I think that was pretty much the changes there. So yes, based on some of the discussions with the county staff, ended up putting, I guess it's this one. I ended up putting the Sunshine Extension for PD&E under the federal side of it, and obviously the county had asked for an appropriation last year that didn't get funded, but that's kind of consistent with where, at least at the moment, where that's trying to go. So next one up, talked about moving that funding. So if you were adding up some of these things, I revised the total at the bottom. Some of these weren't correct. Like the bottom of the Cape Coral said like 194 million. It's more like 548 million. So I've fixed that. Same thing when you're looking at Fort Myers. I adjusted that as well. In here also, I had put in there the long-range transit element, which is in draft. At the next meeting, Lee Tran will be here to present the TDP, which is really like the first 10 years. When you talk about it, it's probably more important than the longer range. This is what's in the transit needs at the moment and the cost feasible. When they present that, there'll be some areas that are smaller, like I talked about before. The MOD areas will be smaller, but that's the 10 years versus going out another 20 or 15, 20 years after that. This is what ended up being in the cost feasible transit. Some improvements to frequency, some mobility microzone like in Estero, some expansion there, and also Shell Point, but essentially more so from improvements from frequency on getting picked up. And that's what I got. It will come back for final in December. We'll get adoption, and obviously I know Cape Coral, we're still working on some of the mobility plan stuff. We'll do some amendments later on to make everything totally consistent from that side of it. And then also, hopefully we get some more funding because as I noted, there's a lot of these projects in here where I just got to the point of saying, all right, well, I got right away, but I don't have all the way through construction. If you talk about just the state road projects all the way through, the only one that gets funded all the way through construction is US 41 in Bonita Beach. Any questions?
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, again, we didn't have a quorum in our last meeting, and there's a lot of emphasis that we were trying to place upon the widening of Burnstore. And just as an example, when did that come to the forefront? I mean, we've been talking about that for a long time now.
It's been years now.
Absolutely, and basically, we really haven't mustered much funding together for that. I think that you're talking about completing basic engineering, the initial design in 30, and is that fully funded at this point right now? Because we're talking 189 for the full.
So within this program, yes, it's fully funded, but it's not as quick as everybody. It's like 10 years out. The design, the 60% is fully funded. FDOT is completing that, and we'll turn that over to the county to finish that process. I think the county has put some money towards right-of-way to try to get moving forward on that portion of it. But at the moment, construction is what we talked about at the last meeting. Obviously, like I talked about at the last meeting, any of the SIB loans and things like that, they're not ready to do releases on it. They're kind of unsure about the market at the moment. So we'll report back if anything loosens up on that. But obviously, like we talked about, that would still require some more money on top. We did have a coalition meeting with the Burnstore Coalition between Charlotte and us about 3 weeks ago, and one of the conversations was about doing a portion of the project, which we had talked about earlier, if we could get, each at a time, just as we talked about the South Burnstore was one big project at one time, and it was broken up to 3 things, and they ended up getting TRIP funds, state TRIP funds on each of the segments. If that's a possibility moving forward, just some of those are some of the alternatives we're talking about.
Yeah, have you defined what the right-of-way requirements are going to be for that?
It was FDOT's estimate was $30 million. It was about $1 million just for the main line and about $29 million for all the pond sites.
And you had mentioned last time there was or maybe at the Cape meeting that we had, you mentioned the $50 million potential from federal that you're looking at. There's a possibility for.
That was one of the federal SIB loan. That was the minimum amount you could ask for as part of it. Yes.
Okay. Has any progress been made on that?
No. Well, there's no progress from the Fed side right now on that. But anyway, now one of the things that was mentioned out of that, the state will determine as federal SIB or state. We work through the state as part of that process. And so the last conversation I had with them is there's not. I don't know how much capacity they had, but essentially they weren't putting out for anything right now. I'll report if anything opens up on them.
And just for ears of this group, in our Cape TAC meeting, we talked about the emphasis on this. That is our highest priority for what we need to get done. And to the extent that we can help to support that in any way, whether it be a letter from the city, or whatever emphasis we can help to put on that, to whatever powers to be to get some additional funding, we're willing to do that. And we talked directly about that in that meeting. So appreciate any support we can have, any ideas you guys might have in doing that. So appreciate it.
Commissioner Hammond certainly taking the lead on that. And
Thank you.
I've always supported this motion to move that up.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, and I appreciate having the folks from Cape Coral at the table too here. So, I got a chance to talk to the county staff about how would we even fund our construction for widening Burnstore Road, and they said obviously we'll use a mixture of revenue sources that we have, and then one of the parts of that would be impact fees from Lee County, right? I don't want to start anything, but I just want to make everybody aware the impact fees that we would use from Lee County to go towards the Burnstore Road widening would be impact fees collected from people in unincorporated Lee. So people in Northport Myers or even farther away, their impact fees would be the ones that we'd have to use. We don't have access as the county to any of the mobility fees or impact fees, though, from the new units that are all being built around Burnstore Road. And one could argue that those are the units that are causing the need for the road to be widened. Those are the people who are directly off of that road. So any kind of cost share, any kind of looking at how we could direct some of those mobility or impact fees from the people who will be using the newly widened road would really help, I think. And another thing, I think, Donna, did I read the chart right? It looks like we're really not even looking at this being cost feasible until 2036 or later now.
Yeah, 2036.
So, I mean, you know, I think the public's expecting us to try to find a way to get this built faster than that. So, Mr. Chair, thanks.
Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. So the impact fees, I understand that, yes, they could come from Newport Miners. However, you guys represent the whole county, and Cape Coral is part of the county. Furthermore, we're talking about potential units coming online. They aren't built yet, and it is an high entry network now. So, and it's just that Lee County portion of the road that is dangerous. So we just need help getting it, like, I don't know, 2036 is insane. Like that,
Yeah.
how many more deaths are gonna happen in that time frame when we've already had as many as we've had? So it's a huge priority just entry network wise.
I think that, Mr. Chair, if I may jump in, I think that's actually the priority decision we have to make. Do we want to take the impact fees generated from the 4,000 homes or whatever that are going to come in on Burnt Store Road and use that to improve neighborhood streets? Or do we want to take that money and use it to improve Burnt Store Road, the main line where we're seeing deaths right now? I mean, that's your priority. That's your question.
Yeah, if I might, that is also an evacuation route, a major evacuation route. And that's not only for the Cape, that's for other places too. So the point is, I think maybe it would, and we talked about this a little bit in council, maybe it's time for a joint commission Cape Coral meeting. And I would love to have that opportunity to have a direct discussion rather than tie it up here with everyone else. But I think it'd be of value. So we could maybe think about doing something like that.
And even if we can't have a joint meeting, maybe we could do it here where we get the 5 commissioners here and as many people from Cape here. Because, I mean, this meeting's already scheduled. It's on everybody's schedule.
Yeah, I hate coming over to the bridge. There's so much traffic there. I'm teasing.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I was going to say, Commissioner, there's got to be a way we can collaborate to expedite this. And I just think we need to get the right people at the table, our decision makers, our managers, city manager, county manager, all of us. And yes, I don't see why we couldn't do it now. I mean, during this time, because it is already scheduled. And we have that. We have the Cape Coral Bridge. You and I spoke briefly a few weeks ago about medians. I had no idea that there was a ping pong effect with the Del Prado median. Cape Coral had it. We gave it back to you. You gave it back to us. We gave it back to you. So I think there's a lot of things that we can, Pondella Road, we can talk about as a group and figure out a way to collaborate because, 2036, to me, that's just not feasible. And, if we're going to collaborate and work together, we need to do that. We have a lot of things, that are technically county owned, but in our city that affect our city. So there's no reason why we shouldn't.
100%.
I think we've been open and honest in wanting to cooperate to accelerate this project, and I believe I heard you in particular mention this 3 or 4 months ago, that there's going to be multiple checkbooks, including the city and the counties, that contribute towards this, and everybody's going to have to chip in to get this.
We want it done sooner than 2036, absolutely.
Yeah. So how do we make that meeting occur? Would you guys direct that and initiate it, or do you want us to do something, or?
Yeah, I'll you know what? I'll bring it up as a commissioner item at our Tuesday meeting and ask the board if they want to have that meeting, and we'll see what the will of the board is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Go ahead, Laura.
And if it is going to be at an MPO meeting, maybe it could be a workshop afterward, so that, folks who have nothing to do with it can leave.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, on another piece, I'm making an assumption, but anyone who's an elected official now is thinking about property taxes that we don't control to the back of our mind. My specific question to you, how does that, if it were to come to fruition, how does that impact these projects that are already in the pipeline if we look at some other revenue source? Because 2036 is not mine right now. I don't know, does it impact Part A? If not, then Part B, and what do we do to, as you said,
So that's actually part of the comment from the public comments about looking at some other sources. There's some interest out there to do a sales tax for transportation. Some people have been talking about a half-cent to go with the other half-cent that goes to schools. Some people were talking about 1 cent. But obviously what's going on in Tallahassee influences whether any of that goes anywhere at the moment. Most of this funding here is based on gas taxes and not from ad valorem, but obviously if ad valorem got hit, then it's going to hit some other parts of this. So it's very unsure right now, and I think that's part of the whole thing with putting out grants. I mean, besides anything else, the side that's changed a lot, most of these revenues in here haven't changed that much since 5 years ago, but the project costs in the last 5 years have doubled. So that's been the bigger impact here.
Commissioner?
Just a question, just since you mentioned the half-cent and the 1 cent tax idea, has anybody looked to see if we had a half-cent tax or a 1 cent tax, how much faster this list would get done?
That was actually part of the question that was put to us, like, could we do that and look at it? I have not looked at it to see how fast. Obviously, some of it is, would you put it in and then bond it to move things up? But then you're hitting on some of what would be future funding. But that is something we could all look at if that's the pleasure of the group.
Do we have to make a motion to ask you to get that?
No, I think if you just consensus, that'd be fine.
I mean, I wouldn't mind not knowing the answer to the question. What action we take after that would be separate, correct?
I mean, obviously, it impacts each of your staffs, too, that we'd be talking to as well, to see what we would do from, the county side or whatever.
And you did mention that then there's gas tax. Well, what about the electric tax from charging electric cars? Have you guys gotten away to?
I'm glad you brought that up. I shared a map with Ron yesterday. Showed everybody that has a gas tax or a mileage-based user fee, or even what Commissioner Hammond brought up before, a tax on electricity that would go towards transportation. And we're probably one of 10 states that doesn't have something at this point when you add it all up. And it's been different versions I don't know about this year, if anybody's seen anything in the legislature so far, but the last 5 years have had some type of either a electric vehicle tax or both, but it doesn't make it to the finish line.
Commissioner, were you looking for consensus on moving your issue forward, or?
Yes, I guess I would like to know the answer to the question. If we had the half-cent or the 1 cent tax, we're looking for different revenue streams. We're not saying we're going to do it, but I would like to know what opportunity would that give us? And if you all.
Is there a way to judge how much electric car charging would bring in, just estimating it, so that we could use that as an argument to move it forward in Tallahassee?
Yes, there's a way to look at it, and I can probably get an estimate for you as part of that process. I don't want anybody to think that that's a huge number right now. When I looked at it, the different states, it's not a big number at the moment. What's really impacting gas taxes at the moment more than anything else is all of us with hybrid and more fuel-efficient vehicles than actual electric ones. But they were looking at it from the long-term side of it is when 50% of if 50% of the people have electric vehicles, it's a lot harder to do it then than it is now. But anyway.
You need to officially confirm consensus on this?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, the board okay with giving consensus on this issue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Public comment?
Derek Felder for the record. So I'm actually the one that brought this idea up to Don at the public hearing or the meeting they had about this a couple weeks ago. And the request was to have for you guys to direct staff to look at out of the cost feasible list and the list. This is the cost feasible list. Okay, so what projects are currently unfunded or funded but delayed due to the lack of funding? So if we were to look at a half-cent or even a full-cent sales tax for infrastructure projects specifically, what would that list look like that currently is not funded or is delayed funding that we could expedite those projects? So just creating that list to know okay, this is what we can't currently do this, but we could do this if we implemented the sales tax. And it was also mentioned about how hypothetically, if we did a 1 cent sales tax, so currently the school board gets a half-cent sales tax, and conservatively, let's say they're getting $100 million a year from that half-cent sales tax. If we did a 1 cent sales tax for the county, that would get divided up amongst unincorporated Lee County and your cities also. So unincorporated is roughly 50% of the population, your cities are the other 50%. So hypothetically, if you did a 1 cent sales tax, conservatively estimate with the $100 million that they're getting currently on the half cent, that would leave $1 billion over a course of 10 years for unincorporated Lee County projects and another $500 million for cities to be divided up proportionally for your populations. So just looking for the facts of what those projects could be, not talking about implementing anything, but let's get the facts to know what those projects could be. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anything else on this issue before the board, before we move on? Go ahead, Don.
I have one. So obviously, one of the things you look at as part of this is, will you use sales tax on state roads as well? Because obviously, one of the gaps in here is the state funding. Am I okay looking at it from an aspect of we would use some on state roads as well? It's not something that's been a history of us. That's why I'm asking the question.
Is there, I hate to create too much work, but I mean, is there two alternatives you could show us?
I sure could do that. You're going to have to give me a little time, but yes.
Thank you.
All right, ready to move on? We'll go to other business. Any public comment on the items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go on to the LeeTran/TD report.
Good morning, Kelly Fernandez from LeeTran. I have a brief update for you this morning on LeeTran's services and our projects. Our system-wide ridership for the fiscal year ending September 30th of 2025 was just under 2 million passengers and within 4% of the prior fiscal year. Our fixed route ridership for the month of September was 130,601 and was within 1% of the prior year at the same time. Paratransit services are serving between 550 and 600 passenger trips daily. This includes our transportation disadvantage trips. We expect these trips to approach the 700 mark on peak days once winter season starts. Our Mobility on Demand service transported 4,800 passengers for the month of September. 3,480 of those passengers came from or within the city of Bonita Springs. 1,336 passengers were within Lehigh Acres, and an additional 2,200 passengers were served by Lehigh's Route 515 for a total of 3,563 passengers. Our 2026 to 2035 Transit Development Plan continues on schedule for completion and delivery to FDOT in January. The steering committee met on August 27th, and the timeline for approval of the plan anticipates MPO committee meetings in November, followed by the MPO board in December, and the Board of County Commissioners in January. Our ADA bus stop improvement project continues, which includes the design, engineering, and construction of 136 bus stops. The design phase for the first 50 stops is complete, and CEI solicitation closed in September. The evaluation of the 8 proposals that we received is currently underway. Construction will be advertised by the first of the year. Design for our electric bus project is currently in progress for the charging infrastructure in anticipation of our bus delivery in fall of 26. Our vendor charge point has completed the fleet and energy route modeling and delivered 50% plans. The advertisement for the full design went out and proposals are due at the end of October, and this will be followed by construction and installation of that equipment. The FDOT State Road 865 project in Fort Myers Beach related to our 2 bus stop pull-offs continues to progress. The traffic signal at 5th Street is now activated. The yield to bus signage has been installed, and buses are no longer on detour. Delivery of new shelters for the 2 stops is expected by the end of the month, with installation to follow. We will also be opening the new bus stop pull-off at Main Street and San Carlos Boulevard by the end of the month. And Lee-Tran is launching new paratransit scheduling software at the end of October. The software will provide many service improvement upgrades to include an app where customers can book, track, and pay for trips from their phone. We expect an enhanced experience for our customers once the software is fully implemented. And that's all I have for you this morning, unless you have any questions.
Questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you for your time. FDOT report.
Good morning, everyone. For the FDOT report, just a few announcements for some meetings. October 28th, Marcellus. Yeah. So for the meeting, October 28th, that'll be an in-person public meeting for the US 41 State Road 45 project from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. That'll be at Lakes Regional Library, meeting room A. And there is an online option from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. to attend that. For November 18th, there's an in-person meeting for Tice Transportation Talk from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. That'll be at Chandler Park, Suarez Hall. And also our tentative draft meeting will be at both locations, the Southwest area office and also the Bartow office. The in-person meeting will be Friday, October 24th at both offices. And also the public hearing for it will be available through October 20th through October 24th. And you can set up an appointment to go over any projects at the Bartow office or the Southwest area office. And that's all for the FDOT report.
Any questions?
Can we get an introduction?
Yeah. I'll take the opportunity. I'll introduce myself. My name is Jamie Driggers. I'm the acting FDOT District 1 Secretary. I'll likely be in District 1 through the end of next year as we transition. So as you can imagine, I'm covering a lot of miles, getting up to speed quickly on things. But I want to definitely here to continue the partnership we have, and I look forward to working with each of you.
Welcome. Thank you. Moving on, announcements now?
Next meeting, December 12th.
Information and distribution items.
I had in there the US 41 and 6 mile if you want to see what the times and stuff are. That's it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and have a good weekend, everyone. We'll adjourn at 10:13. Thank you.